it's Brian G. Johnson, and today the question that I have for you is, does social media play an important role in the Google algorithm? And if the answer is yes, how do we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that that truly is the case? And the reason I wanted to shoot this video today and share some ideas that I have about this topic is I was actually talking to a friend of mine, a marketing friend of mine, and we're going through, how can you know beyond a shadow of a doubt, Mr. Johnson, that that is the case? And I said, okay, I definitely have my thoughts on why this really does have an important role. And I started digging around for some kind of proof, and I came up with a video by Matt Cutts, who works at Google, and he says, yes, we use social media as a signal in the Google algorithm. Now, I'll add that video to my post on Marketing Easy Street, where you can also find this particular video, what you're watching now, if you're watching it on YouTube or another video sharing site. So how does this play a role? How do we know for sure that social media absolutely impacts the algorithm? And I did a blog post, and I really started thinking about these things. And this is what I want to walk you through. It's really about a 5, 6, 7-step process that a site naturally goes through. And let's take a look at those individually, and let's talk about how this impacts the Google algorithm and how you can use social media to improve your search rankings and the things you should be thinking about when you're creating your content. So number one is that it always starts with quality content. Something I've been using lately, a phrase I've been using, is it web worthy? I mean, let's face it, the web is slam-packed full of mediocre content that just isn't really worth our time. You want to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're adding value to the web. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking or earth-shattering. There's nothing wrong at all with sharing your own thoughts on a subject, but make sure that you're adding some type of value. Make sure you're adding to the discussion. And when you post that kind of information, then what happens is you start getting a few shares. You start picking up a few subscribers along the way. People start noticing your content. They bookmark your site and they return because you've got that great content. And from this point, your site starts to go from a kind of a standalone island to a community of people that enjoy the site. They return to the site. They add to the discussion, and it goes from kind of singular, one person, one webmaster, launching and controlling a site, to a group of people that frequent the site and they add to the discussion. From this point, you've got this kind of grassroots promotional thing going on. You have people, hey, have you been to that site on subject vintage artwork? Or have you been to that site that really goes into depth about using and creating video with your iPhone, which all my videos are created on an iPhone, if you can believe that. And this is exactly the kind of grassroots promotional efforts that can start to play a bigger role as we move forward. So grassroots PR campaign is a byproduct of the community that's happening. And from here, we start to gain a reputation as the go-to place in the niche, whether it's a website, a video site on video channel on YouTube. Your content becomes important within the niche in the community. And because of that, it starts gaining authority. And soon this authority is passed on to the search engines because they see what's going on. The content is always refreshing itself as people add new comments. Fresh content is great. People start hitting like and share, and more people come into the mix. And as more people hang out and spend time on your site, that is what is a really strong signal to Google post-Panda, and that triggers the search engines to recognize your site as an authority. And from that point on, you really start to achieve this point. The tipping point is a great thought right there, where you've got sustainable traffic that can benefit your website day in and day out, and your site can sustain itself, and you can get more subscribers, and it starts to really become a snowball effect. And that's how I really try to look at social media myself, is that when you put out great content, these people can do this kind of thing for you with the community. They can share content, and that is how it can have a really big impact with the Google search engine. Lastly, I want to mention kind of the button pushing generation. So with Web 2.0 that started probably, 5, 6, 7 years ago or so, all of a sudden it was really easy to not only share some content or upload content, but to start pushing buttons. And these kind of people on your website are a wonderful thing. They start pushing buttons on your site, which ultimately syndicates your content further than without these people. So that's another aspect of why social media can be so incredibly powerful, and you should look to incorporate social media in your campaigns and your website today. So Brian G. Johnson here with Marketing Easy Street, and just kind of cranking out some videos about web marketing, making a buck online. And if you like this video, go ahead and share it and syndicate it for me. I'd appreciate that. We'll see you soon with another video at marketingeasystreet.com.
We lost one of our family this year in Edster. That was a panel in Webmaster World. And my first PubCon in 2005, I was lost, he took time out. He could see I was brand new. He sat down with me and told me how I should get the most out of PubCon and, sit in the front, talk to as many people as you can. If one of the vendors really says something that you like, go and talk to them, get the business card, and follow up afterwards. As long as you always take action, with everything that you learn, you'll always do better every day. So my challenge is to all of you guys, especially the ones who've been here for 5 or more times, seek out people who you can tell for the first time. Tell them some good advice, what really helped you in your career, because we're all here to help each other out. That's why PubCon, in my opinion, is the best conference out there. And plus, Tedster would love it if we could follow his footsteps and do that. I think it would be great to hopefully do a nice random act of kindness. So that's my rant for today. So with that, again, any questions? If you guys get some great tips, please tweet this up, because we want everyone else out there to know that this was the session that should have been at right now. All right, with that, what's up, Dan?
Okay. Yeah, I do remember Tedster too. every PubCon I spoke at was always a technical type. I tried to get into the other ones, but they always put me in the technical ones. And that's where Tedster also used to speak of. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about, there's some SEO in it and there's some technical in it. So who are really mainly web developers that know SEO? And who are mainly SEO people that know web development? Okay, so it doesn't matter anyway, because it's kind of merge your knowledge already. Okay, so going through it, and this is what I'm going to mainly talk about. So when we look at sites today, so many people like to bells and whistles. That's why I have bells and whistles there. And it's not really just creating the bells and whistles just to have bells and whistles. There's a usability part of it. People like it. It's fast, it's interactive. As long as you're using it in the right way, people love using it. And why do people like using all these effects? Because it's fast, it's instantaneous, you see it right away. And sometimes these small movements, it just enhances the user experience. Why do you think even Apple pays so much attention in their devices, even on things shrinking and expanding? Because it helps you, it gives you an idea of where things are going, just these minute movements. But all of that is like extra coding, extra problems, extra issues that we also run into when we do SEO. Okay? So, when we're looking at code, when we're looking at websites, it's not just HTML, obviously. There's lots of things that go into it, okay? And, you have to use images, of course. In some cases, you use videos. Sometimes you use Flash if you want to. CSS and JavaScript, of course, on the server side. There's also some programming languages, server, there's PHP, there's ASP, because HTML can't really handle any type of data, and that can be the programming side of it. If you're old school, you might be using some Perl, some Python. Some people might still be using Go Fusion. JavaScript is more on the, on the front end side. And passing data along between each other, there are some technologies that use XML, and in some cases JSON, because it's easier to handle arrays better in XML. Now, looking at this, we could kind of split this into client side and server side. Now, some of you may be advanced coders there, and this is kind of like an introduction in the beginning of how we're going to look at this, so we can evaluate it, how it helps out, or how it causes problems in SEO. So when we talk about client side and server side really runs on your browser. It's running on your computer. When we talk about server side, these technologies are running on the server. Okay? What's not listed there are databases. There's MySQL, PostgreSQL, MSSQL, or SQL Server, Oracle, and whatnot. All of those will run on the server. Now, the nice thing about client side is, since it's already on your computer, it tends to run fast. And it doesn't reload the page, because you have it already in front of you. Whatever you do, it runs instantly. Whenever it's something that runs on the server, it has to refresh, it has to reload. It uses some time, but it's ideal to do things there when you're downloading a large amount of data, if you're accessing a database. Typically, you don't want to do that on the front end, because why would you pass along a large amount of data just to process it on the client? You just want to send over information that you need. Okay? So, going into that, where, as things develop, and users like that fast response, but you also need that large amount of data, but you want to avoid the page reloading, this is when some certain techniques started to come out. And this is for Ajax. More people started using Ajax. And when you use Ajax, what is happening is, we mainly deal with HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. And on the server side, all of the server-side languages there, we can just bundle up all of that into one. Just call it server-side scripting and databases. So what we're doing here is, you get the power of the fast loading of the client side, but you could still pull data on the back end from the server side, and and XML is actually optional, even though the X there in Ajax really is XML in the original acronym, asynchronous JavaScript and XML. It's pretty much optional. You could use it or you could not use it, but what you're doing there is, you get that fast loading time, you get that fast response. It kind of makes you feel like you're using a desktop application, which users love. But you have the ability to pull data from the server without the page reloading. Okay? So that is the main importance here. It runs fast, client-side JavaScript, but you have the ability to pull data from the server. Okay? Now, when Ajax came out with a technique, and things keep on reusing types of code, and people started putting these codes together and creating their own frameworks. And that's what I have there as the example here. jQuery, prototype, UFX, extension.js, and there's a lot more. And all of these frameworks, it just made popular several types of effects. There's tab navigation, and let me see if that GIF animation works. Okay, it does work. Okay, so clicking around, there's tabs. There's lots of sites are using that today. Origin navigation. When things expand and contract, click on another area, another thing expands and contracts. Okay. Now, other things. There's parallax scrolling. There's also frameworks for parallax scrolling. I think CodeKitten, the one that I listed on the heading, is a parallax framework. What that does basically is, you're using you can do it as different types of layers. that are on top of each other. And whenever you scroll,